Excellent.
I
I have not put my name in there, but I will need to do that. So this is David Wheeler. If nothing else, I should look at the agenda, but I think we ought to at least briefly talk about the TAC meeting, because I think that was important. I don't know if that was on your agenda or not.
It is the first thing on the agenda.
Ooh, fabulous. Okay, I am opening up the agenda right now.
Cool.
Okay, got it. Talk about the TAC meeting. Okay, Mike, did you want to kick us off?
Yeah. So part of the so there was a TAC meeting last week where we kicked off and we talked about the so each of the working groups are being asked to essentially describe what they're doing and the current things on the roadmap, future things, where they need help. I'm actually, Ryan, you could probably talk to about this from the other side. But I presented last week. I thought everything went fine. Good questions, and we I don't think anything new that we haven't been talking about at various times before. Like the name of the work group doesn't quite, you have to squint a little bit to see how everything we do falls into that description. But I don't think there was any, at least there was nothing that I recall being said about hey, you're doing this thing and it really provides no value, or it's silly or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it went really well. So just kind of give some background for everybody else on here. What we've been doing at the TAC level is working to formalize all of these working groups that have been doing work for the past year or so. And so it's a little bit of just process, but also just like Mike said, getting to the point where we're seeing what each working group is currently doing, where they're at, where they need help, and then seeing where groups can coordinate together. And we actually had a lot of that happen in that meeting, which was really, really awesome. Discussions with the vulnerability disclosure group and best practices and kind of how some of that stuff can overlap and we can coordinate a little bit better. So yeah, we've got 3 more to do next week. That'll be the final 3. And going forward, hopefully we'll get some kind of a rhythm going where we get status from working group leads a little more frequently and kind of make sure everybody's coordinated. But yeah, it was a good start. And I think, nothing shocking, thankfully. No one was out there building something that we weren't expecting. But yeah, I think it's just kind of getting us into this rhythm as a new organization and making sure we're all on the same page. But yeah, I think it went really well.
I think one thing that I knew, but I think was not necessarily known by all, was, this particular working group has an opportunity to, I guess, integrate some of the work being done by others, particularly some of the best practices things where, basically the security reports, the CI best practices information, the scorecard information, all that could go into the overall dashboard as an integrating mechanism. And then, of course, that information could then get fed back over to, say, the vulnerability folks and the critical projects. So I think there's a role as an integrating force for the dashboard, but we got to get it to the stage where it's ready for that role.
Yep. One thing that I heard, I think everyone mentioned, was that resources were needed, tangible, dev paid resources that were dedicated to doing work, were needed in, I think I heard it in 2 of the 3, or maybe even 3 of the 3 that went. So that message has been communicated. I know that there's efforts in making that happen, but I just would double down on that and say that we need paid contributors or paid developers to go develop stuff.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense too that as as all these working groups are maturing, we kind of expected that to start happening, right? We'd eventually hit this point where it's like, okay, this is all great. We need people to start like really doing some dev work here.
Yeah.
So yeah, certainly we're not the only working group, but it's good to get everybody together and see how that's becoming a necessity across the board, and that'll help drive, I think, a little more urgency on the governing board side to get that budgetary committee going, or however it is that they're doing it, and making sure that we have the right process in place so that we can say, hey, we need 250 grand to go hire a couple people, right?
Right, exactly.
Go from there. So yeah, it's happening. I'm glad to see that everybody's kind of working on the right things. So
yeah. Ryan, do you know if the member dues, do you know when the freebie part of that ends and members are going to be because at that point there would be,
some funds, yeah,
significant dollars coming in, assuming everybody stays a member. But
yeah, so I know initially they said that basically for quote 2020, but 2020 is a fuzzy number, about that we would have.
You mean 2022?
No, 2020. So initially we said no dues for 2020, right?
Right. Oh, sorry.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and then, so I don't know if that means August 3rd is, in 2021 is now when we're going to start collecting dues. So I don't know the specifics of that. I can circle back with Kay. I think she's been looking into that a lot, and find out. But yeah, certainly once that happens, we will definitely have more funds. And I know there's been some funds donated, ironically, from Microsoft already. We had one of our teams had some extra budget that ended up being funneled over to OpenSSF. So there is some money there now. But yeah, the dues I think are coming this year, at least last I heard.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, the governing board in the end, of course, is going to have to make that call.
Exactly.
There are some funds, as you mentioned, from Microsoft. There's a separate small pot that Google has offered. That's not technically OpenSSF, but we can probably do some things. The LF has some limited resources. Hi. The problem is, of course, we're not talking vast amounts. So Michael, I think what we really need right now is, and I think it's going to have to be you, sorry to say, I think basically we need to beg on you to write up. I thought you were starting to write up what was needed, wasn't there?
Yeah, in the last, I have my laundry list of, the UX front page. Some of it is just cosmetic stuff, but other things like actually bring in the data regularly and refresh it and have arguments about like metric X versus metric Y and things like that. But have it be demoable more broadly.
Right. Now, I don't think that, I think it's important to not gild the lily, as it were. I think we clearly need, what's been done as a proof of concept is actually pretty awesome. So congratulations for that. I don't think we need to spend, millions of dollars to develop something. But I think we're going to need somebody to write down kind of that minimum viable real product. I don't know if that's the real phrase, but yeah, it's a minimal viable product, but it's a minimal viable product that it's reasonable to use. And I think we're going to have to beg on you to do that first draft. Because you're the best. Having implemented the proof of concept, you're best place to do it. But if you come up with even a partial draft, just stick it on Google Docs or something. I think, I'd be happy to give a hand. Other people, I'm sure, be able to give a hand, but I'm not sure where to start compared to what you know.
I think what would be useful is the problem that I've run into is like the design takes 100% of my energy and the development takes 100% of my energy. And therefore it's so being able to just, if someone were to just tell me, and in fact, I don't recall who this came from, but back like 4 months ago when it was like, this thing is way too complex. Can we just do like the bare minimum easy? Like that was a great trigger to like, just use Grafana. It doesn't matter. We can change it later, but like, let's get something that everybody can see rather than the perfect thing that will never be available. That was great.
And it really is.
Yeah.
I actually don't think you're that far from the usable product.
Yeah. It's mostly just hours in the week available.
It's looking it's looking really good. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I heard I was having some troubles with my mic. I also want to say, so I had been thinking about the Grafana thing recently, and it looks really good. And I think that's a nice UI. I was also thinking, in terms of sort of machine readable output, and sort of minimal viable, solution to show people what's going on. I wasn't clear on, is there a way to, access this information from some kind of API? Like, I assume there is. I'm not super familiar with Grafana, but I also thought, that might cut down on any sort of UI linking. I'm not sure how Grafana works, but I seem to remember when I tried to use it that it's not, complete. If we're talking about time sensitivity of resource commitments, then, maybe just a raw JSON API would be enough to cut down on time commitments, linking things together in Grafana, and still, be able to give some solid results on what's being done.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. As I recall, the Grafana, like the UI widget, is defined as like a SQL query. You can define it as like there are like 10 connectors or whatever, but the one we're using is just SQL. But the SQL backend is simple enough where adding an API to just, given a product, tell me what you know about it would be, let's just say, trivial. So
cool. And then I guess
it's trivial in it's morning and I haven't done it and I haven't looked at my inbox yet, but it's not, it's a.
I guess
it's the size of a bread box, not the size of a truck.
Yeah. Oh, I had one of those like 2 weeks ago. I said, it'll take 2 hours. And I worked on that. I worked on it for I said, it'll take 2 minutes. I worked on it for an hour straight in the meeting. And then 2 weeks after that, almost every day. So sorry, tangentially, just you said they're SQL queries essentially, right? And sort of where I was going that with the raw JSON data is, I would assume those SQL databases aren't publicly accessible, right? So
correct.
So you really need to access Grafana to get the information, right?
Well, not really. So Grafana is just, it's installed locally. So there's, as I recall, just Nginx reverse proxying to Grafana. So Nginx could also have, like, this URL starts at Grafana. You could have API, get package equals, foo, return the JSON for foo in this case.
Okay,
this should
cool.
This should be 4.
Sweet.
Yeah, we can.
I was just thinking, I found that less, if there's any way to do less UI development, that always seems to cut down on time.
Yep.
Yeah, and to be fair, I was going to say that a lot of that data that is fundamentally the dashboard is an integration, and so a lot of that data is already available elsewhere. Certainly, the CI Best Practices badge provides all this stuff as really simple JSON requests. GitHub, of course, has a way to query it. But I do actually agree with you. If the dashboard's going to be the integration point for security-related data, then having an API, so in one place you get what you want. Poof.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. I can do that. What I'll do is I'll post a link out on Slack, I guess, as things progress.
Well, the idea here was to create less work for you, not more. So if this is going to create more for you, feel free to throw this suggestion to the side. I was only thinking if this is going to make your life easier.
Too late. It's it'll create more work, and it's still a good idea.
Yeah. We'll just Just keep stuff in the bag.
Well, I mean, okay,
Yeah.
so we have limited time, but you mentioned, time. It takes time for design. I don't think you should have to write down a design. I'm thinking, maybe a page, half a page of what's left to do for a
Yeah.
minimum viable product.
Right.
And I think actually an API is a reasonable minimum requirement.
Mhm.
A way to some setup to vastly increase the number of projects that are pulled, and which is more of an
Yeah.
operational vastly increase number of projects whose data is collected.
Could you
Mhm.
do,
Yep.
and obviously this is limited to your compute that's scanning, right? But could you do some sort of group effort thing where you get, machines from different organizations that are trusted to do the data collection together and post it up?
We could the long pole in the tent is new piece of data. Have to look at it. How would I collect this? Do I need API keys? How do I manage? Like it's the setup. It's never the
I see.
'cause I could
Well,
just spin up VMs and
okay, yeah, and so well, and this is one of the things that we tried to work on. So I went through a similar thing with that I remember. I think you guys. Well, I was here a couple weeks ago, and I gave a little talk on what we had done at Intel with that similar sort of open source allow list tool of what we could choose, and what we found is that repeat process of sort of we were doing feature engineering. But pulling in new kinds of data it can be very time consuming, especially
Yeah.
when you need to rebuild the whole data set. But we were able to get it down from like a couple days to do the whole thing to like I think we could do it in like a couple hours.
Yep.
But this is, I mean, so that was a data set of like 4,000 records though. So I mean, to regenerate the whole thing is a little bit different. But I think if you sort of focus on this idea of having do you guys have sort of microservices behind this at the moment, or
No, right now it is a flat. It is what is it?
flat?
It is a managed SQL server. So at least the cloud is managing the operations of that, and then it's just a VM with Grafana installed on it.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking, if you could get if there could be some sort of infrastructure provided to allow people to contribute, new scans, and then those may run in their own little
Mhm.
pieces of data
You
collection
can do
that
a
run in.
container, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
we
could run them in a
really
container,
run the
then
container. You say absorb this project, and it does a thing, and then it submits
yeah,
it.
yeah, you could sort
Um,
of crowdsource, some of this stuff, so somebody could go submit a PR to that main repo you have it, and then you'd be running one more
yep.
metric gathering thing, right?
Yeah, and some of these things you don't actually have to do yourself. For some of the statistics data from, say, GitHub or GitLab, and just ask them. Same for the CI best practices badge. If you just want to know the current state, poof, you grab. It's a REST call. You're done.
Yeah.
So for some of this stuff, we don't even have to spin up anything else. We literally just have to integrate it in.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep. So,
So I'm thinking, for as far as I think we need to have something to start with. I think I'm going to pitch for the moment that I would like this tool very much to be able to answer some questions like, is it reproducible? What are the results from some security analysis tools? Run some static analysis and so on.
mhm.
And we're going to claim that that's not the short term. That's not the minimum viable product. That's the phase 2 or whatever. I think having the scorecard in there is relatively quick and straightforward and easier to get started. Even acknowledging that, I'm sure we want more longer term, but I don't think we need that to start with.
That sounds good to me. Yeah.
What do you? What's about this thing?
Well, folks are thinking. I think the thing that would be most useful to me is, what are basically just like print this out and write all over it and say, you know, this is confusing. This makes no sense. This conflicts with this. It would really be great to have this thing here from the context of an MVP.
I mean, I would say sort of right off the bat, there's a lot of information. And okay, so you have badge level passing. Is badge level CII, or is that the whole thing? Is that this whole?
This
That's
is
just
all
CII.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, maybe something that gives you sort of, there's a lot of boxes here, right? And if you have something that says yes or no, or didn't we get on the reviews, right? There was a sort of severity of the issues found that were contributed. Something like that gives people sort of an at a glance view of, is this project healthy or not healthy?
So basically like a SSL Labs.
Yeah, kind of like an A or a B. Yeah, kind of like Go report card and stuff, because that's essentially, a lot of what's going on here. It's similar to Go report card and things like that.
Or even just a visual thing, which you actually have something of a start now, which is, green means things are good, red means things not so good.
Yep.
I will, by the way, note I'm colorblind, so this is perhaps not the only thing I want.
So you'll look the same to me.
So for example, the no data works just fine. That's thick enough, but the thin ones, I presume the X's and it looks like the X's and check marks are different colors, but that's starting to get a little rough.
Yeah. Yep.
Would it be possible to also create a template showing kind of what an ideal dashboard would look like? So with the data that we can anticipate to see in the future with this project.
Absolutely. If you whatever examples you have, I'm really good at copying other things, but I'm not a UI person, so yeah.
Okay.
I'm into that.
I'll shoot some ideas in the Slack.
That'd be awesome.
Okay. I think in the short term, what we want is, a short, get it so that there's a pipeline that pulls it through, fix up the UI a little bit, and the thing is, we're actually tantalizing. A lot of people were very excited by the proof of concept. It's it's not slideware. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think that once there's a little further, I can talk to the Linux Foundation IT folks, about hosting and that sort of thing. I'm sure there's a limit to what we can manage, but I don't know what that is.
I mean, right now it's a small VM. Like it's tiny little, like a reasonably sized VM should cover this for a year.
Okay.
So that's kind of.
Yeah, and you know what? My experience with the CI Best Practices badge is, relatively simple code and caching goes an incredibly long way.
Yep. Absolutely. And Postgres is kind of the underappreciated awesomeness that kind of makes things happen.
I disagree with you. It is appreciated.
Yes.
It is a fantabulous workhorse. I agree with you.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so I think we have a plan.
Okay. And Mike, if I will promise to give you a hand if you give me a link of some ideas to start with, but I don't. And I'm hoping it won't take too long because I think you just kind of write down.
Yeah, honestly, it's the kind of the activation energy needed to like bring everything back into my head and then like start doing something.
Okay, fair enough.
So, yeah, I'm not too worried about this.
Okay, cool. But I think that's going to be the triggering mechanism for the TAC and governing board to fund something. Is we need to give them, this is what we have in mind. This is our best guess for prices. Everybody understands that trying to come up with prices is a big wag, but you got to at least go through the exercise.
Yep. I mean, even if it was from a like cost of dev, if it was 4 months of like generalist dev time on this. I think you could make huge progress in that, and that would be,
Oh yeah.
Whatever it is, much
I
less.
suspect in 3 months you could make
Yeah.
spectacular progress because you're not actually trying to create whole new. You're trying to integrate what exists.
Exactly.
So that's
Okay.
in theory not too hard. In theory.
In theory, nothing. Cool. I'd like to just talk about. So, sorry, are we closed on the dashboard for?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. The threat paper. So I did. So the threat paper went out. Whatever it was 7 months ago or something like that. Whatever it was. We haven't really updated it substantially since. We probably should rev it and consider a 2.0 release, or at least I'll put it out there that perhaps we should consider a 2.0 release. There have been some new things in the news like dependency confusion, and I think having another set of eyes looking at it critically and saying we're just totally not addressing this whole thing. We've over-indexed on this, or this thing that we talked about 6 months ago has largely been solved by X, or the recommendation that we have is kind of out of date, or whatever it is. But kind of planning for a substantial update, I think would be good.
Are you referring to your white paper, the threats
Yeah.
mitigations in the open source ecosystem? Okay. I would love to help with that.
Perfect.
Because I think it was an excellent start, and there's not enough kind of reference material,
Yeah.
So anything to build on that, I'd be happy to chip in as well.
Okay.
You've posted as PDFs. What's the current way to edit that thing?
Yeah. Okay. So, and I would love someone actually, Amir, if you could just think about this and do the right thing, because GitHub ain't great for like versioned documents. So right now the latest thing is this one. So I'll just post a link back to this. It's 1.1 and it is the markdown. So
okay. So you did convert it to mark. The markdown is now the official one.
Correct. Yeah. Luigi actually did the conversion, but yeah.
Okay.
So current.
But by the way, okay. I've been trying to fight the conversion for Google Doc, and oh my.
Yeah. I mean, I would really like to be able to then re-PDF this and have it not look like we printed a markdown file. And I guess ASCII doc and pandoc and all these things are it can definitely be done. But that's a rabbit hole. It's another rabbit hole. But either way, yeah, I think this would be super to integrate.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah,
and then final topic, the security reviews. So I merged a bunch of updates. So I'd say just kind of keep them coming. I think we need to have kind of more longer term strategic discussions on how do we increase the pipe, once we've done enough to show that there's some interesting stuff here.
Now the dashboard doesn't bring those in yet, does it? Or does it? I don't think it does.
It technically does.
Oh, I kind of fixed that. It was there was a few bugs and it looked like it worked great at one point, but it was pulling from the old repo, WG, and there was a handful of other things, but I patched it up, and I think I've submitted a PR that it's I can send you a picture of my screen or something right now. I have the reviews.
Who's speaking? And I bless you already.
This is Dylan. Dylan is.
Hi, I'm Dylan. Yeah, I don't know if we've met a couple times virtually, but here, let me take a screenshot of here. I'll pull up what left pad looks like. I didn't, in terms of the metadata, I didn't put. How do I add a picture into this? Sorry, one sec. Okay, sorry, I don't use Teams every day, so How do you add a picture? Oh, here I just dragged it. I feel like I've. Sorry, does someone want to tell me how to add a picture? Like, it's like a dumb question, but like in the chat, I don't even see any.
You can just post a picture in the chat, like.
Or you can just share your screen and show the picture.
Yeah.
Works. That works too. Let me do that. I'm totally joking right now. I don't know how to... Is it under more action? Oh, open share tray. Here it is.
This is Dylan Bala, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And my apologies if I've totally messed up the pronunciation of your name.
No. That's pretty much it. No worries. Oh my God. It's saying, okay. My Mac is not allowing in system preferences. I have to quit and reopen Teams to allow sharing. Okay, that's fantastic. And I can't. Oh, they're freaking. Okay. I will figure this out on my own. You guys keep talking. A picture will show up in the chat.
Okay, not a crisis. Anyway, you found you found a problem and fixed it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
And
Dylan, thank you for the updates to the GitHub too, Dylan.
Yeah, no problem. I'm not quite sure he's talking since I have Teams minimized, but thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Is there anything else that while you're doing that anybody else thinks we need to talk about?
So I'm going to warn Dan. You volunteered earlier to will help document how to install the document how to install the dashboard. Or document/automate dashboard installation.
You know what? It might actually be easier. So since I'm going to have the hood up on it, it might make more sense for me just to package the whole thing as one container that's like ready to go, rather than the recipe to build it from scratch.
Although if we want to open it up and make patches, we're still going to have to open up the hood, won't we?
I feel like long term we probably want both. But
yeah,
I
we
think
do.
having it all packaged up initially just to kind of get people up and running would be really nice.
It would. Yep. I think you're right. We want both.
I hate to say that, but yeah.
You say package, what do you mean? Are we talking a Docker image or what are we talking?
Yeah, Docker image.
Okay. We'll note that in the notes. So noted.
And that actually probably the way to do it, if I'm remembering correctly, is you do the Docker image, but the source code that it runs as part of its thing is can be a mounted directory. So you clone the repo, you build the image, you run the image, and then you change the thing on your file system, and the image references that. So that's like the way to do dev without, because you really don't need to run Postgres like locally to run the image and connect it with just the same, that kind of thing. I think for the V1 of the dashboard, it was all Docker composed, so there were multiple images and everything kind of worked sort of.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Is there anything? Dylan, are you still working on getting the?
Yeah,
the
I think we figured it out. Like I would have seen it and then I looked it up and I think my app is just like not updated or something or not with the I need to like quit and reinstall because it just does not. It's like glitches, just does not have the buttons that it says it should.
How about this? You were just posted in Slack later or?
Oh
whenever?
yeah, I can drop that in Slack actually. That's a great idea. Yeah,
Cool.
we'll be there in a minute.
I don't know what all the details are, but I know that the LF, at least for the CI best practices branch, we've been using Fastly as our CDN, and obviously there's also Cloudflare for certain things, and those can definitely make little sites scale pretty well without a lot of resources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how cache-friendly Grafana is. I mean, obviously, all the static stuff can be cached, and that's great. But if it's all Ajaxy where it wants to do its thing and not have those results be cached, I could look. We'll try it and we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's I totally get that. You can't cache everything. That doesn't work so well. But what you can try to do is think through what's the thing that's especially in demand.
Yeah.
And find ways to cache that.
Yep.
Images and things that stay for a while.
Yeah.
Certainly the badging app doesn't cache everything, nor would that really make sense.
Yeah.
So who's working on the code right now? Just the main code base. Is that primarily you, Mike?
Yeah. So the yeah, and I think like the main part of it is the connector parser uploader thing. Oh, I forgot. There's actually there's already an API.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So sorry. This makes a lot more
You said
sense
the
now.
connector parser uploader thing, and I just thought, it's unfortunate that all the hardest things are around custom form apps, essentially. It always ends up taking so much time. I don't understand why.
It's terrible. No, so right, okay. Sorry. The architecture of it right now is, the shell scripts and whatever to like parse and separate out like the scorecard JSON file into like the individual metrics. It posts that to a REST or just to an API endpoint. That API endpoint is the only thing that talks to, or the only thing that writes to the database. And then, because I didn't want to have individual clients be able to talk to the database directly, so it does it through the API. We're all good there, and then Grafana reads from the database directly because that it needs to. So having new metrics or new scripts or new whatever should be relatively easy because all you have to do is post to the endpoint in a reasonable format. And then the other part of
data by posting it.
You add data by post. Yeah, basically you say you basically say like add metadata, package URL equals X, the type, the key name of the metadata and the value, and then I think you can put some it's like a property bag after that.
So is it open key value? Can we add arbitrary keys and value and start doing random metrics? Okay, and then is there any authentication or anything on this at this point, or I guess what I'm getting at is how can I start helping add stuff?
Totally.
You know what I mean?
I absolutely know what you mean. I'm trying to. Yes, there is an API key that you need to know in order to make any post to that.
So it sounds like don't make that public.
Don't. Yeah. Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
just
well,
thinking if I'm committing
yes,
code, it
definitely
sounds
not make
like
that
this is
public.
something not to make public. Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice to be able to like have a playground to experiment on where, I mean, obviously we'll have like a dev instance of this where people that are doing dev can like do a kind of end to end. The API thing, actually, I don't love because it's the one part that I can't really like. You can't run it.
Yeah, I know what
No,
you're
you
saying.
can run it locally. Sorry,
But you don't have the existing
everything's
data,
out of cache right
right?
now. So, no, yeah, you can run it locally. It should
I mean,
all just work.
Set an environment variable with the API key. Run your scripts.
Yeah, right, right. But we still
There are
need
simple
to.
ways to do this.
Yeah. Oh no. It's more that I need to be able to. I need to trust you and give you the environment key, but I may not trust, Bob. And how do I now? Someone is like the gatekeeper of the keys.
Yeah, all of a sudden we need OAuth, and it's like, whoa, what
Yeah.
happened here? Yeah, exactly. No, I get it.
But I do think
We're in
that like
POC
if you could
phase.
run
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think once you run it locally, you're comfortable. You submit a pull request.
Yeah.
We look at it. We're cool with it. It comes in, and then we're running it using our keys. And
That sounds good.
Right.
And then those the hookups, those SQL queries. So my understanding is right now it sounds like, okay, so there's some information you post to an info. So say you come up with some new metrics about something, right?
Yep.
You post to the endpoint with the API key, and now we need to do some wiring, which my guess is a pull request to that repo where the dashboard SQL code is hosted. Is that correct?
The way Grafana is like, I mean, technically there is a JSON description of it. So if we were super advanced, we might be able to manage it through that and pull requests.
Okay.
But the default way that I've used Grafana is, you have an account, you log into Grafana, and now you're an admin on it. You click on the widget. It says, what's the definition? You say it's modify the SQL, and you see the SQL query there, and you change it, and you hit save. And I think Grafana will version updates anyway. But that is, it's more of an online experience for that.
Okay. So I guess, because I think I had mentioned this, but I had a student who was interested in helping contribute to this. And so we have some, metric gathering stuff that we've already developed. And the idea would be basically, can we help start throwing stuff in here? Right. I guess that's what I'm getting at is what all do I need to do to guide him to get this working?
I think for this, and particularly since this is still kind of dev time, let's get him the key, let's get him the script, we'll document how to actually call the API. He can just start throwing stuff in.
Okay.
We'll give him an
hook it
account
up
in
later.
Grafana. He can create his own dashboard.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm not familiar with Grafana.
It's okay.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, that makes sense now. Thanks.
Cool.
Just real quick, I think what would be huge, I think, Ryan, I think you mentioned this earlier. Just from my personal perspective, I think like a huge thing that would lower the barrier would be like some kind of script or something to do a lot of the like initializing, which I think can be done, right? Because you need to install this kind of .NET, this version of .NET, and then the C# function, and then Grafana, and I'll get all this stuff kind of prepared that might de-incentivize people. I don't know. Like I'm happy to like work on like either making the README a lot more like a little more straightforward, or maybe including some kind of build script. I don't know how confident I feel about the latter, Ryan. It sounds like you have a little extra. I'm happy to help you with that if that's something that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a stab at it, and then once I get it fully working myself. And then,
yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. No worries at all.
Yeah, I did it with the V1 version because I had there were some install issues with Mac versus Windows, and so I did a little tweaking there. And so yeah, I'll play with it and see where we get. And yeah, and I'm happy to share it as I'm developing. So
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
Well, thank you.
Excellent.
Awesome. I think we have enough work for the next couple of weeks.
Real quick, Mike, I was going to bring up the blog post. Were we still interested in that?
Yes. I don't know how everybody feels. Like, do you think we're ready to do that? Should we wait until we have more reviews in? I was feeling really gung ho about pushing it earlier, but I don't know. I don't have strong feelings on whether it should be kind of. I mean, I think we should do it within the next month. I'm just not sure if like next week or like 4 weeks from now is the better one. If people have opinions.
For me personally, there's one tiny thing that I'd like to do, and it's really more of a visual thing of putting all the reviews that I uploaded through OSTIF like in their own folder. I know that's kind of a really minor thing, but I think once we kind of do all those minor tweaks and feel really good about it, I think we absolutely should announce it. And I really like kind of the call to action of, getting more people to get involved and post things on there. So yeah, I'd say within the next, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 weeks.
I think we could do that. Do you think that we need I know this came up once before, but like, do we need like a more user-friendly UI into the repo? Kind of like a build job that would go through all the scripts and emit, let's say, more HTML friendly, like a big table with like all the reviews and links to the content. Do you think that's necessary? Otherwise, we're just showing people a repo. And I think the repo is the right way to manage it. I'm just not sure it's the right way to communicate them to. Because the other problem is with the repo, the only way to really find a component, especially because a review could cover multiple components, and then which folder do you put it in? The only way to really find it is to search. And that's not terrible, but
I don't think you can avoid that problem. Security reviews, no matter what you do, there's going to be a number of security reviews. The map between the components and the security reviews is not going to be one-to-one.
Right.
So I think trying to make that square peg fit in the round hole is just not going to work.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a search no matter what you do.
Can we integrate it with the dashboard as well, so that like when you're already searching for a component, we just link off to a security review?
Yes.
That we're not going to build whole.
Yeah. In fact, that's already there.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So maybe that is the UI that we point people to.
Yeah, and in the longer term, the challenge will be, okay, it's a review. I found something. It may or may not be exactly a match. And so in the long term, I can imagine some sort of, a confidence value. But I think in the short term, it's we found these reviews that seem to be the most relevant ones, and then you have to decide if you actually believe the match.
Yep.
But I don't see how else to do it. We're just never going to have that perfect match.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. So let's have that topic be the first one that we talk about next time, because that'll be around the right time to push that forward.
Okay. Perfect.
Awesome. Unless there's anything else, thank you everyone for attending, and you guys have the great rest of your early spring.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye,
Thanks,
all.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Bye.